Hello out there. We're on the air. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome back to another weekly Bitcoin live stream. 88 lessons. This one's titled Taking a Different Path in Bitcoin. And it is going to be a good one, hopefully. Last week's ran quite a bit longer than I was hoping for, anyways, for the first part. But that's kind of the new setup for the new weekly show here. So I actually did a 2-hour live stream this morning. And so I'm going to have to, as best I can, kind of take it easy on the voice here. I should have got some Ricolas or something like that. But we'll get through it. Might be a shorter one today. We'll see what's going on, see who's here, and go from there. So let me bring this up. This is my reminders here. Let me bring this one up so we don't forget. So we read the title, Taking a Different Path in Bitcoin. Got to give some shout outs here. Number one to Gigi for inspiring the 88 lessons. He came up with a really good book titled 21 Lessons about, I don't know, 5 years ago now, maybe more than that. So this is kind of a tribute to Gigi in a way, with a little bit more general, more broad topics. His is pretty focused on a couple certain areas within Bitcoin. These 88 lessons are going to be head to toe, everything that you need to know about Bitcoin, the asset. And a shout out to Sailor too, as well, in here for kind of the concept of it. Because Sailor said something along the lines of people spend 100,000 hours of their life earning money, working. They should spend at least 100 hours learning how to keep that money. So that's kind of the idea with this series, is I want to keep it under 100 hours. I want somebody to be able to start on lesson 1 and go all the way to lesson 88 and get a very good, clear 360-degree view of Bitcoin. So that's kind of the idea. We're going to do it in small chunks. Every week, we're going to start the show with a little lesson, and then we're going to get into some Q&A stuff for in case people have any questions about the lesson itself or other questions, topics within Bitcoin. That's kind of the second half of the show here. So we're going to be doing new member shout outs here going forward on the YouTube channel. For those who aren't aware, we have a visionaries community. That's for people who are kind of looking to network in Bitcoin, to learn different concepts, obviously increase their conviction, their understanding, and their knowledge of Bitcoin. But also, one thing we focus on in the visionaries community is our mindset. Because it is my opinion that it doesn't really matter how much Bitcoin you have. It matters what kind of mindset you have and what kind of security you have. So those are the kind of things we cover in the visionaries. It also gets you a free access to our Bitcoin Citadel community. But in terms of YouTube, I'm going to start actually uploading some of the content to the YouTube channel here. So members going forward are going to get a few different courses, including the 21-day Bitcoin journey course and a few other ones too. I'm going to start uploading for private members of the YouTube channel. And I'm going to start doing shout outs every week for anybody who joins as a member. So you kind of have two different paths here, I would say, for anybody who's looking to join. If you want a little bit more community, more networking, more focus on the mindset and some other self-improvement areas, I would recommend the visionaries. But if you want to pay about, I don't know, a third of the price every month and you just want the content, because these 88 lessons are going to be quite in depth for the most part. We're going to cover a lot of different topics within Bitcoin. But the 21-day Bitcoin journey course is kind of just like a good Kickstarter. You watch those 21 episodes, you're going to have a pretty good understanding of not only how to buy, where to buy, how to send, how to receive, how to store it, how to manage your private keys, looking at UTXO management, all of this kind of in a 21-day crash course. So that's going to be available for YouTube members. Sponsors here. We don't have any sponsors. That's the point of bringing this up. We don't have any sponsors. This whole channel, everything that happens here is 100% sponsored by the community, which I prefer. And God bless everybody who has supported the channel. It is the difference between me being here and not being here. And I'm pretty grateful and happy with this decision, because it was a much different path, I think, than most YouTubers take in terms of taking on sponsors. And, you know, I respect it. It's a lot different path, easier path, I would say, for sure. but I just don't want any sort of influence over my voice and what we talk about on here. I want to have zero filter, and I want to have zero lingering thoughts about, should I say this? What is my sponsor going to think about this? Do I have to talk about this product? What's my sponsor going to think about this? Can I make this post? What's my sponsor going to think about that? So I want to keep this the most transparent and just overall, what's on my mind as possible here. And so big shout out to everybody who has been sponsoring or supporting, we'll say, the show, but there are no corporate sponsors. We want to maintain the voice here. I think it's important. And the game plan today, we're going to be talking about the last session a little bit. Last lesson, we'll touch on that quickly. We're going to be talking about Remembrance Day and kind of the impact on Bitcoin, really. And the typical paths in Bitcoin, you can see them down here. And then the biggest lie in Bitcoin. And we'll probably get to a couple other things too. And then, of course, we'll do some Q&A at the end. So if you do have any questions throughout, while people are kind of getting in here into the chat, we are on YouTube, Rumble, and on Nostr today. So if you have any questions along the way, just throw in the chat, any topics, whatever it may be, and we'll get to them after the lesson here. And yeah, that's what we got. So where should we begin here? Let me take this off the screen here. This is going to be lesson number 3, and it's titled Taking a Different Path in Bitcoin. And so this was kind of inspired by somebody yesterday on the YouTube channel. Some comments. I got into a little debate, not really a debate, because the guy was just kind of talking nonsense. And this happens quite often on the channel. There's always some, we call them 0-hour dipshits, but I don't know if that was necessarily the case yesterday on the comments. But he was kind of, saying a few things that didn't really make sense to me about Bitcoin. I wouldn't say it was like your average person's response to a lot of Bitcoin stuff. You could tell that he had been in Bitcoin for a little bit. But he left one comment and he said something along the lines of, if you held on past $100 or something like that, it's never going to be a good bet after that, something like that. But the point of it was that I've kind of got the impression that this person had basically got into Bitcoin very early. And then maybe he watched his Bitcoin portfolio or Bitcoin holdings go from $2,000 to $4,000. And most people there, that's when most people would cash out. They'd say, hey, I got 100% profit on my investment. I'm going to cash out. And so I feel like that would have been a long time ago now. And I'm guessing he spent every single day since then regretting that decision. And that's kind of what a lot of people have done and probably will do in the future. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. There's a saying in Bitcoin that says everyone gets Bitcoin at the price they deserve. And I don't think that that's necessarily the case. I think it's something more along the lines of everyone gets Bitcoin at the price they understand it. Because this guy actually got Bitcoin when it was $50. But now he's in the YouTube comments telling me that I'm wrong about Bitcoin because he happened to take his profits very early on, probably full of regret. And now he has to spend all this time, all this energy, not only feeling bad about himself and full of regret, but trying to somehow make things right by leaving comments in YouTube videos about Bitcoin. So it is. I think that one of the themes throughout the 88 lessons here that we're going to get into is having a good understanding of Bitcoin. Because my opinion here, my thesis on this whole thing is that there's millions of people in the world that currently own Bitcoin. But the people who don't understand what they're holding, they're basically just placeholders. That Bitcoin's going to be with them for a little while, and then it's going to be moved to somebody else. And then maybe if that person doesn't have an understanding of Bitcoin, it's going to move to somebody else. But once people have that understanding, or the green light comes on in their mind, that's going to be a future episode, the green light theory that I have. But once that green light comes on, and once they actually start to understand Bitcoin, that's when everything changes. That's when that Bitcoin is actually taken off the market. And as we know about Bitcoin, there are only so many Bitcoin available. There's only so many sats available. And so when somebody has their green light turn on and they have that understanding and conviction, the knowledge of Bitcoin, those coins aren't going to move. Which means when you're looking at the supply and demand dynamics of Bitcoin, that's a pretty big part of the equation is the available supply. So everybody knows that there's 21 million. I think that if you took a poll of people on the planet, I don't even think it's that much. But what I'll say is there's a lot of people who know that there's 21 million, but don't really understand what that really means. They just kind of see it as a number. Because again, it's one of those things. Bitcoin is a complete paradigm shift. We've never had an asset before in human history with an absolute scarce supply. So that's the first part, absolute scarce supply. But the other thing too is that that's just a number. That doesn't really mean much. That's how many Bitcoin will ever be, in circulation. But there's a lot of those coins that have been lost. And there's a lot of those coins that as the green light comes on in people's mind, and they get those sats and they protect those sats and they put them into their cold storage self-custody Bitcoin wallet, those sats are no longer available. So those are taken from the denominator, the total amount of Bitcoin available, the supply of Bitcoin. And there's a difference between the supply, like the 21 million Bitcoin, and the actual available amount of Bitcoin. And as that number of available Bitcoin goes down, obviously, if the price or the demand continues to go up, which we're going to talk about kind of in the second part of the show today with the recent announcement and update from Square, demand keeps going up. More and more people every single day are getting into Bitcoin. More and more people every single day are starting to understand Bitcoin. More and more businesses, more and more investment funds, more and more BlackRocks of the world, more and more countries and cities and towns and municipalities, states. Every single day, there's more people getting into Bitcoin, which is driving up the demand. So that's a pretty important part of the demand for it. And unless you know something that I don't see that demand going the other way in the near future or anytime for that matter. I think that number is very small right now. Again, the people who actually understand Bitcoin is very small. I don't even know what my prediction would be. I would guess less than 100,000 people on this planet actually understand Bitcoin. And so that's kind of why I'm saying everyone gets Bitcoin at the price they understand it. Because even if they buy it, but they don't understand it, those coins are going to flow somewhere else. Whether the price runs up and they cash out at 100% gain, or it's crashing down and they don't really know what's going on, so they sell it. That's probably the most typical path, which we're going to talk about here in a second. But just to kind of review what we talked about last lesson, we talked about all these things that happened in history. These are kind of like the main monetary events that have happened in the last century. So this is probably the biggest one here, the creation of the Federal Reserve. Between here and here, between 1913 and 1944, we had two world wars. Two world wars right after the creation of the Federal Reserve Bank. I wonder if there's a coincidence here. I don't know. Could be, maybe not. We're going to talk about that a little bit here. But this is the big one. It's in bold. This is in 1971, where basically all of society, every metric in society started to trend downwards ever since 1971. Our food, the products we use, the materials we build with, the relationships we have, everything has gone down in quality since 1971. And it is absolutely no coincidence. And that's when we went off the gold standard. And all of a sudden, our money became an illusion. Our money became backed by nothing. Our money became something that could be printed without actually any energy. And that's one of the things throughout these 88 lessons that you're going to notice is that's probably the biggest difference between Bitcoin and fiat, is that fiat takes zero energy. The whole world here is just a bunch of energy. That's all it is. And a small group of people have the ability to create money without actually any energy going into that. That's a problem. It's a big, big problem. And so that's why we've seen the prices of everything explode. That's why we've seen the hospital visits explode, the divorce rate explode, the jails filling up. Everything's happened since 1971. So it was a pretty big deal. And that's kind of what we're trying to turn around here now. So if we think about this, if we think about 1913, the creation of the Federal Reserve, if we think about these two wars here, World War I, World War II, that were fought, started right after the creation of the Federal Reserve, you can kind of start to understand what's wrong with the world. And if we think about the Remembrance Day here, that was that's one thing I wanted to touch on here, Remembrance Day, because I know this is kind of shitty to talk about, but if you think about how many innocent people died in these wars, how many people, how many fathers went overseas to fight in these wars, and on Remembrance Day, we remember those people who did fight for our freedoms that we have today. They're dwindling, but lives were lost in the fight for freedom. And if some of those veterans, living or not, most of them aren't around anymore. But if they were around today, just imagine what they would be thinking. Imagine what they would think with society right now, with the crime, with the woke agenda, with the centralization, with the globalism, with the extraction, with the taxes, with all this. What do you think that they would say about the current state of the world right now? You think they'd be happy? I doubt it. And it's sad because all the wars that we remember today, the people who fought for our freedom, they didn't have to happen. The reason why these wars happened, why they were able to happen, is because we gave a small group of people the ability to create money and essentially finance these wars. Because without the creation of the Federal Reserve, World War I would not have happened. World War II would not have happened. Because when you think about it, imagine them trying to sell war to the citizens of the country. Imagine they go through quite a bit of propaganda to sell war and pit people against each other, races, countries, all these things. It's all propaganda. And imagine if they said, "Hey, we're gonna go to war here. We're gonna fight whoever, Iran, Iraq, whoever." And they said, "We're gonna go fight this war, but before we do you mind if you send us, or would you be able to send us $10,000 check so we can fund this war?" Every family, every household's got to send $10,000 or $20,000 or $30,000 to the government so that we can fund this war. I'm guessing it wouldn't have been very many people who sent in $20,000 to fund that war, or $30,000 or $100,000. How many families do you think would have wrote a check to the U.S. government or to any government and said, "Here you go fight this war. It's this important to me. This war is this important to me that I'm going to send you our life savings to go fight this war"? Probably not many. And so what they do instead, they created the Federal Reserve. They gave themselves the ability to create money. They gave themselves the ability to finance these wars. And it's been happening for the last 111 years. And so on this day, of course, we remember those who fought for us. But I think we'd be doing ourselves a disservice to not really understand why those wars happened and whether or not they had to happen. How many innocent lives were taken? Fathers, brothers, sisters, mothers, just gone. For I don't want to say for nothing. Watching this right now would agree with that. And when we get back on a Bitcoin standard, that's going to change everything. Bitcoin raises the cost of violence significantly because when you don't have the ability to create money, print money, what do? You can't just go and start wars. You can't just go and pick fights with people. Whether the fights are real or not, it doesn't matter. On a hard money standard, on a Bitcoin standard where you can't actually print money, none of that happens. It just doesn't. So that's the world we're going towards right now. And that's the hopeful part for me, is that 1971, everything turned around for the worst. And in 2008, 2009, that's when everything turned around for the better. And that's kind of where we're going to now. Oh, the sound's breaking up. That's perfect. That's what we want to hear. I wonder why it's not giving anything on my end. Shoot. Let me see. I'm going to open it up on my phone here. I wonder what would be causing that right now. Okay, close. Might have to. Damn, I wanted to make these lessons nice and tight. But that's all right. That's technology, baby. That's technology for us here. So let's see. Okay. Test, test, test. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. I'm going to keep. Yeah, it is really choppy. What should we do here? I'm going to try something here. No, it seems like it's getting better now. Okay, I'm going to keep talking, and can you just let me know if you can hear me or not? Or okay, not choppy anymore for me anyways. Okay, I was going to restart the stream here, but if we're good, we're good. Okay. So with that in mind, that was just kind of a Remembrance Day kind of tie into Bitcoin here. Sound is okay. Well, okay. Can you just let me know if it's like just okay or if it's good? Because I don't really want just okay. I don't want there to be any sort of choppiness in here. That's annoying. So let me know if it's choppy or if it's good now. Like clear. Should be clear. I think it happens when you load that Excel app. Okay, let's try that again then and see what happens, because that's where we're going next year anyways. Okay. So we're going to be talking about the typical paths in Bitcoin here. And I'm getting word from the chat that our sound is kind of crappy. So we're going to have to push through it. We're going to push through it here. But let me know if you can still hear me with okay, sounds like we're good. Good. Thanks everybody. Okay, so what I'm going to be talking about here is the typical paths in Bitcoin. And I think that this is something probably the most people watching here would be fairly newer to Bitcoin, maybe. Actually, that's a good kind of test just to kind of read the room here for today and going forward. I probably won't adjust much, but I just kind of want to get a good feel for everybody who's showing up for these weekly shows. Kind of what stage you're at. What year did you get into Bitcoin? Was it 2024 after the president changed in the US? Was it 2020 during the great pandemic? Or was it before that? Because we're going to be talking about the most popular path in Bitcoin that people take, the most regretful path that people take, and the most effective path that people take, which is going to tie into the biggest lie in Bitcoin. And I think it's important to just kind of understand this right now, because once people start getting into Bitcoin, once people start getting into Bitcoin, it's a very hard rabbit hole to get out of. It just seems like every person I talk to, the moment they get into Bitcoin, it's just like nonstop. And so if you are somebody who's kind of in that realm right now, I think this is going to be a very good video for you, because I've seen this so many times in my years in Bitcoin of these different paths and how they've all worked out. So here we go. This is these are the paths that most people take in Bitcoin. And so when I say taking a different path, we want to do something other than this one, the most popular. This is how a lot of people get into it. Path 1, most popular. So let's start with that one. So you can see here that all three of these paths start the same way. And I know that there would be exceptions with this, but I feel like they're few and far between, where somebody gets into Bitcoin for something other than the price going up. So everybody kind of starts on the same foot. And so path 1, we're going to focus on this one for now, which is you buy some Bitcoin. You see the number going up. You want to be part of it. You want to get in on the action. So you buy a little bit of Bitcoin. And then the price starts going up or down. Usually down. It's usually when people see the price going down, that's when they panic, because they don't understand it. They have no idea what's going on here. They don't have the knowledge, the conviction, the understanding of Bitcoin. And so they panic and they sell it. And then at some point, kind of like the guy in the YouTube comments, maybe in the future, they start buying again. And maybe the price when they got into Bitcoin, the exchange rate of Bitcoin was $50,000. And when they finally get past their ego, once they finally start taking some time to figure out what this asset is, because at this point here, when everybody gets in, nobody has any clue what the hell's going on in Bitcoin. Nobody does. So if they can get past that, if they can actually get over the fact that they bought, panicked, and sold, then they can start buying again. But the problem is most people, especially guys like the YouTube comment guy, they'll wait 5 or 10 years before they start buying again. So when they first got in, maybe the price of Bitcoin was 50,000. And then when they started buying again, maybe it's 500,000. Or something that's already happened, maybe people were buying at 1,000 and now it's 100,000. That's something that has happened in the last 10 years. And so they start buying again. But the problem is they end up with fractions. And so this is the most popular path. This is what we want to avoid. And I would say that the main way to avoid this is to actually, once you have a little bit of Bitcoin, once you have a little bit of skin in the game, you should be taking time out of every single day and watching a podcast, reading a book, reading pages from a book, reading an article, paying attention to the right people. And this is actually one of the huge value ads that you should be looking for is trusted people in Bitcoin. Trusted people in Bitcoin. And within the visionaries, within the Maple Bitcoin School, we have resources that we trust. So people, you don't have to trust us. The whole thing in Bitcoin is you shouldn't trust anybody. You should verify everything yourself. But I do think if you get off to the right foot and you're listening to the right people, that can be the difference between you actually panicking or you actually hodling. It's who you're listening to. It's who you surround yourself with, who you're talking to about this stuff. And the people who are kind of trying to do it on their own and they get off on the wrong path, they start watching some crypto channels. They start taking on leverage. They listen to one success story out of a million and they start taking on leverage. They don't understand what they're holding. They're just looking for that quick gain. And they want to turn their $1,000 into $50,000 because they're desperate. So this is kind of a very short-term lens. That's where kind of everybody starts. But if you're not paying attention to the right people, if you're not talking to the right people, and if you're not tuned into the proper frequency in Bitcoin, you can go down a very bad path, which usually leads to panic, selling, and then buying again 10 years later. So it's unfortunate, but that's kind of what we're trying to prevent with these lessons and with these shows every day. So this is path number 2. And this one, I would say, is a much better path, but it's still not ideal. I feel like this is where most people, once they get past that first little crash without panicking, this is kind of where a lot of people end up. So again, they end up getting into Bitcoin because they see the price going up. Gets everybody interested. It's a pretty good marketing technique by Bitcoin, by Satoshi. So they start off with a small allocation. Let's say that they put 1 or 2% of their portfolio into Bitcoin. And again, they've gotten over the hump of the panic. They've maybe watched it drop 10%. That's just what Bitcoin does because it's a very new asset. Nobody really understands it. And so there's a ton of volatility for now. And so they put 1 or 2% because they don't want to, their financial advisor told them to only put in the money that they are comfortable losing. So they put 1 or 2% in. But they have the foundation. They've been listening to the right people. They've been tuned into the right frequencies there. And so they start getting a little bit more interested in Bitcoin. And all of a sudden they're watching 2 or 3 hours of podcasts every day. They're listening to audiobooks. They're reading books. They're going to Bitcoin meetups. They're more interested. And maybe months pass, maybe years pass, but they decide, hey, this thing's legitimate. They put in the time to understand what it is or think that they do. And they make a bigger allocation. So what they started with 1 or 2% now is maybe 20%. Because once you get to a certain point in Bitcoin, you kind of realize that everything else is fake. I would say outside of like gold and land, Every other asset class is pretty much fake. So you figure that out and you're like, okay, well, why do I have 50% of my portfolio or 60% of my portfolio in the stock market when every single company in the stock market is 30 times overvalued? I'm going to start moving capital over from my portfolio. Or they have a big portfolio of real estate and they're like, real estate's a pain in the ass. It's a headache. I have to deal with tenants. I have to deal with increased prices. I have to deal with the mayor in the town. I have to replace my roof in 5 years. All this stuff. They're like, oh, I'm going to sell a couple of rental houses, buy Bitcoin with that. And they start making these bigger allocations. But the problem with this strategy is they have more, but it's still fractions of what they would have had here. So they might have got 1 or 2% at, let's say, $50,000. And then they decided to allocate 25%. They sold 5 real estate properties and bought Bitcoin. But the problem is the way that Bitcoin works, and if you looked at the performance of Bitcoin for the last decade, they end up with way less Bitcoin. Way less Bitcoin. And I know that it's not an easy thing to do here. And that's the most effective, is the most difficult path, but it has turned out historically to be the most effective path in Bitcoin, which is, again, you see the number going up, except the difference here is that instead of putting 1 or 2% into it right away, or even less, some people start with like, they might have multi-millions and they put like 10,000 in. Sweet. The difference here is that this group put a big allocation in. Maybe they put 10% in. Or maybe they started with 5 and a couple months later 10, and then a couple months later 20. But they put a big allocation in. And so when you have that much invested, obviously you want to kind of keep up with your understanding, your knowledge. You have a lot more skin in the game. And so your understanding also ramps up at this point too. You're spending more time in here. You're putting in more effort, more proof of work going into your Bitcoin stack. And so what do? You keep buying. And so you don't have fractions now. You have the maximum amount that you could have possibly got out of Bitcoin. And of course, leads to sovereignty. Because once you're at that point and you know that you did pretty much everything that you could do, not only are you decently allocated to Bitcoin, might be 50%, might be 75%, might be over 100%, like some of us in the chat here, but then you just keep stacking. And you start to understand some of the most important properties about Bitcoin, which is the fixed supply, the decentralization, the fact that nobody has the ability to change it. Nobody has the ability to print more Bitcoin and essentially devalue your wealth. You start to notice that your local business is now accepting Bitcoin. So the demand is going up. There's more people accepting Bitcoin. There's more people storing Bitcoin for the long term and reducing the total amount of available supply of Bitcoin. And you start to notice all these different things. The videos you watch has a QR code on it. You can actually send money to somebody else that's on a different part of the planet without a bank involved, without paying a bunch of fees. You realize that, hey, I have family overseas that I've been paying 40% to transfer money over to, that I don't have to do that anymore. This is a huge value add for me. This is a huge use case for Bitcoin. And if we go back to the use cases here, that's what essentially Bitcoin is. You can use it for an emergency fund because emergencies you're kind of looking long-term. And if you're storing your emergency funds in fiat, every second of every day, the value of that emergency fund is actually going down. Whereas if you store it in Bitcoin, it's the opposite of that. You could be using it to save for a house. You could be using it to send cross-border payments, accept Bitcoin, start a business that doesn't have a physical store, but you're doing work for people all around the world. And without having to convert currencies and get your bank's permission and get their bank information and go through all this BS, worry about taxes, you can just accept Bitcoin. Everybody's on the same standard. You can delay your gratification. You can set up insurance funds for your health, your dental, your life insurance, your pets, everything. Because it's long-term and Bitcoin is made for people who think long-term. No transaction fees. Big part of what we're going to talk about in this next part here with Square. Additional security on debt. So you could actually use Bitcoin to securitize your house. And probably in 5 or 10 years, the Bitcoin is going to be worth more than your house. Opens up a worldwide economy and actually allows for micropayments, which the fiat system, the fiat rails cannot handle. Try sending 20 cents to somebody in fiat online. Try making a payment for 40 cents. It's impossible because there's too many hands there. There's too many leeches involved in the equation. There's too many middlemen in the equation. And remember, the whole point of Bitcoin is, number one, separate money from state, take away their ability to print money, to fund wars, to devalue your life. That's number one, separate money from state. But number two is it's a peer-to-peer electronic cash, which means peer-to-peer, there's no middleman. An electronic cash, which means it has the exact same properties as cash, except you can do it with anybody on the planet. It's a pretty big deal. So the biggest lie in Bitcoin, this is kind of what I wanted to get to here, because in this path here, the most effective path, it goes against what a lot of Bitcoiners will tell you on YouTube. Because if you watch Bitcoin YouTube channels, everybody says the same thing. Not your keys, not your coins. And trust me, I spend half my days, half my life talking about Bitcoin security. I help people almost every day set up a hardware device for the first time. My business partner lives in Sweden. We help people secure their Bitcoin for the next 100 years for their family. I subscribe to that theory more than anybody else. But the problem is that when you first get into Bitcoin, you want to make a big allocation. Most people aren't ready for that yet. And I think the majority of Bitcoin that's actually been lost in history has been because people move too quickly. So what I'm saying is the best, most effective strategy here is allocating a bunch right off the top. 10, 15, 20, 25, 30% of your portfolio right off the hop. I know it sounds crazy, but that's the most effective way historically, and probably will be the exact same in the future. But the problem is you now have a big allocation to Bitcoin, but you have zero understanding of how to secure it. Zero. So long-term, what you want to do is you want to learn. You want to take some time. You want to watch videos. You want to read. You want to see what other people are doing. You want to have conversations with other people, other Bitcoiners, learn from them over time. But that doesn't happen overnight. You want to make your allocation overnight, but you can't catch up in your knowledge gap that quickly. And so the biggest lie in Bitcoin is that everybody has to take self-custody of their Bitcoin. And it's just not true. So what I suggest instead, so here's the biggest lie here. The biggest lie that you're going to hear in Bitcoin. Oh, what happened there? Tough go here. Biggest lie in Bitcoin, not your keys, not your coins. If you can't self-custody your Bitcoin, you suck. You should stay out of here. This is for serious people only. That's the biggest lie told in Bitcoin. So what you can do instead, you have a couple different options. Number one, you can buy an ETF, which I don't like the idea of myself. I don't want to give Wall Street or the fiat system any more ammunition, any more of my capital, any more of my time. But for some people, that might actually make sense. So if you are looking to allocate to an ETF, I would shy away from BlackRock personally. There's a lot of good ones out there. Fidelity would probably be at the top of my list. But number two here is you can just buy Bitcoin and leave it on the exchange. Not that hard. And if you're in Canada, the best way to do that would be something like ShakePay. If you're in the USA, I would say your best options are going to be River or Strike, where you can actually just send them dollars and get allocation to Bitcoin, get exposure to Bitcoin, and they're going to hold it for you. Other places, there's a good custodian called, what's their name now? They're in Australia. Caleb Brown. So these exchanges will let you buy Bitcoin, and they'll actually hold the Bitcoin for you. And the cool thing is they don't charge you anything for it. Obviously, there's a huge risk. No, I wouldn't say huge, but there is a risk involved with keeping your Bitcoin on the exchange. And even though I disagree with this for everybody, this is definitely the case. Until you actually remove that Bitcoin from the exchange, it's not really Bitcoin. You just have the price exposure to Bitcoin with some added risk. But I would still much rather go that route, making a big allocation and having to trust somebody else for 6 months or so, 3 to 6 months, than tiptoeing in and making a small allocation, realizing that, hey, this is the only asset, one of the only assets that's real. It's going to be the best performing asset for the next 1,000 years, probably. I should probably put more of my portfolio into it. But the problem with that strategy is by the time you catch up to that, by the time your knowledge catches up to your intentions, you missed out on a huge amount of sats. So that's why you end up with the fractions. That's why this is the most optimal, because you make a big allocation, you let somebody else hold on to it for a little while you get your bearings together. You increase your understanding. You take the time to study, to learn, to set up your security. You keep stacking. And then eventually you take full sovereignty. You take self-custody of your coins, and you don't have to worry about any of this stuff. But you get the maximum amount of Bitcoin. And that's why this is the most effective strategy, for that reason. You get the maximum amount of Bitcoin. And then from there, of course, you keep stacking. Maybe you take a loan out against a portion of your stack, buy more Bitcoin. It's like real estate. It really is. And you're going to see that strategy increase through time here, where people, instead of buying real estate and letting the equity go up and refinancing it and buy more real estate, people are going to do a much quicker, easier, and in a better form of collateral with Bitcoin. It hasn't started yet, but it will. And so that's why this path 3 is most effective, because we're still in the very, 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 very early stages of Bitcoin. And so the earlier you can allocate, the better off you're going to be, the maximum amount of Bitcoin you're going to get. So I'm going to have links to all these. I don't know if I have one for Strike or Caleb and Brown, but I'll put some links in the show notes for people. If you're someone new to Bitcoin, they'll be in the pinned comments if you're watching this later at some point. But that's the different path. So again, this is kind of like the most popular path. This is where most people go. Once they get past that, this is the second most popular path, the most beaten path. And this is the least beaten path. This is where hardly anybody goes. But it's, if you can do it, this is what you're maximizing here. Your sovereignty over time and your maximum amount of sats. Because everybody ends up at the same place, where they realize that that Bitcoin's the only asset that really matters. You know, there's some gold bugs out there who like Bitcoin. There's some real estate investors that like Bitcoin, but eventually they're going to be more Bitcoin than the other assets. They just haven't got there yet. But that's where everybody gets to. So why beat around the bush? Why take more time than you need? Why tiptoe? I was going to say a different word, but why tiptoe into it? Just make a big allocation right off the hop. Once you see what's going on here, you can trust other people for 3 or 6 months. During that time, you're paying attention to your education and your security. You get that all set up. And then when the time comes, you can actually move your Bitcoin from ShakePay, from River, from Caleb and Brown, and maximize your sovereignty and maximize your total sats. So that's been lesson number 3. Sorry for the technical difficulties there. It sounds like we made it through it. I don't see any bad comments in there. But keep in mind, all these lessons are going to be available on YouTube. I created a brand new playlist for the 88 lessons. We do this every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time on the YouTube channel, Rumble channel, and Noster. And if you want, one thing I'd say is, you know, if you're just kind of brand new to Bitcoin, the best way to avoid this path here is to, first of all, be aware that it's the bad path. But number 2, realize that communities like this, visionaries, whether it's visionaries or Maple Bitcoin or any other community that you've found trust in, that's where you want to be hanging out. You want to be talking to Bitcoiners who have been around for years or cycles or whatever it is. You would not believe how much of a positive impact that's going to have on your Bitcoin journey. So that's Visionaries. I'll also put a link if you want to join that community as well in the pinned comments. And that's it. That's lesson 3. And I apologize for, I'm not ignoring the chat. I just trying my best not to be distracted. You know, by the way, nobody's commented on my vest yet. What the hell? How often do you see guys on YouTube wearing vests? Okay, look at this. We got a couple people over in Noster chat. We got Samantha Nakamoto. We got Letha. Letha, good morning. Letha says 2021 during the pandemic. She called it something else, but we'll say pandemic. And we got Cannon over there. Cannon with the first zap and the biggest zap so far today of 420 sats. Thank you, Cannon. The man. The man, Cannon. And he said, bless the Visionaries. That's a member of the Visionaries there, Cannon. Okay, so I guess we got to put "We Are Live" again in the comments. And unfortunately, I am going to have to probably edit that video today, which I don't love doing. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Wow, Cannon, zapped another 420 years. Since joining the Visionaries, I got my first contract negotiated for freelancing. Got my Square account set up too. I can accept Bitcoin. And zapped 420 sats with that. Wow. That is that's pretty cool, man. That is pretty damn cool. Congratulations, buddy. What are you freelancing? What's your business? Maybe somebody else wants to hire you here. I mean, that's a big part of the community too. Is just meeting people, meeting other Bitcoiners. Because my whole theory in Bitcoin communities is that the bigger you can grow your network in Bitcoin, the more people you can meet in Bitcoin, the faster you can leave your fiat job, the fiat system, actually, too. Because the more people you meet in Bitcoin, you're going to start having people in your local city, your province, a lot of people in your country, other parts of the world. And so you can start transacting with people. You can start buying and selling from people. You can start offering your services to anybody on the planet, but they have to know who you are. They have to trust you. And so don't wait a couple of years to start meeting people in Bitcoin. Now is the time that you want to start doing this. I promise you. I've been on Noster for almost 3 years now, meeting other Bitcoiners, networking with other Bitcoiners, and it has paid substantial dividends already. And I can't even imagine what that's going to look like in the future. But you have to start. You can't just hop into a community and expect everybody's going to trust you. Everybody's going to warm up to you. All these things, and that's kind of the theme within Bitcoin, is that it all comes through proof of work. Time. You cannot buy reputation. You cannot buy trust. So you have to be part of this stuff if you want to be. Get in as soon as you can, whether it's this community or whether it's a different one. But make sure you do that. I would say that that's, in the Visionaries, we have 3 different focuses areas. Number 1 is the inner citadel, your mindset. Most important. Number 2 is your network, which I'm talking about right now. And number 3 is your wealth, Bitcoin. So inner citadel, mindset, outer citadel, network, and economic citadel, Bitcoin. So it's all encompassing. That's the community there. What do we have here? Maria. Maria just sent the fat zap of the show so far. 5,000 sats. Maria. Thank you very much. 5,000 sats. Appreciate that a lot. Thank you. Cannon said 420 or sent 420 sats again. Looking like Scotty in here. Scotty's probably snoozing right now, though. 420 sats and said social media management and content creation. All right. Well, you know what, Cannon? I'm actually going to be reaching out to you. I'm actually going to be reaching out to you myself to do some work with you. And that's what I mean. Like, if you're just hoping to go through, I think this is another part that people get wrong here in Bitcoin is that they think they want to go through this whole thing themselves. They want to put all this time in themselves. They want to get all this wealth themselves and move out to a cabin in the woods and just live there and never see anybody else. It's kind of weird, but I do think that that's a lot of people's kind of goal. But you have to understand that some of the oldest principles that very successful people all agree on is that you can't do anything by yourself. Everything that has ever been built has been built and planned and executed by a group of people. Masterminds, they call them mastermind groups. And so that's what this is. And so if you're not putting yourself out there, if you're not joining these different communities, you're just going to keep kind of falling further and further behind. Even though you have the economic power there, which is Bitcoin, you're still going to fall short of your potential, for one, and you're just going to keep slipping behind. Whereas if you can kind of start meeting people now, start gaining their trust. And the other thing too is, there's so many things to be aware of in Bitcoin, and it's impossible to keep track of it all yourself. Impossible. Whether it's security updates, things you should be doing, issues, warnings, anything like that. If you're trying to do that whole thing yourself, you're going to spend your whole day looking at it. Whereas if you're in a community, again, something like this or something similar to this, you're going to be on top of things because people are very active in the communities. They're going to say, hey, don't update your app because of this, or avoid this exchange for this reason, or don't use this lending platform for this reason. And that's just not something you're going to get on your own. So big shout out to Canon, taking action. All right, who's here? We got Sats and Sunsets is here. Only an hour late. Only an hour later from this comment. But that's the structure of the show, unfortunately. Matt, Samantha, Johnny Midas, Rich says, great stream earlier. Thank you, Rich. Actually, for anybody who wants to be catching up with this, we do daily streams. We do a weekly stream here for this one for 88 lessons. But we do a daily stream every day. Today's was 2 hours long, and we were talking about increasing your income, creating multiple income streams, and actually kind of a path to getting one Bitcoin. That's what we talked about on the stream this morning. So if you got time tonight or you want to tune in going forward, I just shared the link there in YouTube. Kick works. Nice. Good afternoon from Brooklyn. Love that. Ian's here. Good morning, or good afternoon, Ian. I keep saying morning. Good afternoon, Ian. Okay, this is the sound issues. Alezen. Hi, bro. What's up, bro? Buck 52's here. Sats and Sunsets first purchase 2017, took the regretful path. 2025 for Lori. Leverage path and got wrecked. Buck 52 says, number one piece of advice for new Bitcoiners, stay away from altcoins, no doubt. George back on YouTube. Kind of. Never really left. We left for the daily streams, though. That's what I'm talking about here. We left for the daily streams. We're no longer there. But I do wanted to give a couple different shout outs here. Number one, for the people on Nostr. I see Logan's over there now. Good afternoon, Logan. And 20 other people on Nostr, but also on Rumble. It's one of those things. That's what Bitcoiners do best. They take the hard path, even when it's a little bit less convenient for them, even if it's going to be a little bit more difficult for them. Shout out to the 10 people over on Rumble right now watching there. Like Solar. Tuesday only. That's right, Ian. Only Tuesdays. Buck 52 says at least have two-factor authentication for exchange. True. True words. And Nav says Fidelity is now in New York. They might be the best exchange rate. Nice. Good info there. Laurie says rank you. Rank you. Josh is here. Good gringo. Big Bitcoin event tomorrow and Thursday in El Salvador. I'll be there. Nice. I got to get to El Salvador. It's one of One of my next missions here. Okay, so we're going to spend, I can't believe we're already an hour into this. I was only planning to do it for an hour, but I do still have a bunch of things I want to talk about. So it might be a little bit longer here. We'll see. I got to email myself this list, though, that I had. 88 lessons. Oh, damn. I meant to show this video for the first part here. Oh, well. Anybody who's here now will get, what? I'm trying to navigate this in Obsidian, but it's not. There we go. You know, I'll figure this out at some point here. I'm kind of brand new to streaming here, so cut me a bit of slack if this isn't working. Cut me a bit of slack here. I'm brand new to streaming. I actually kind of am, big picture, but I don't really have an excuse for this, to be honest with you. I don't know what to do. It won't even let me copy it. Copy. We'll see. Instagram. Okay, that one worked. What about this one now? There we go. Okay, worked. Okay. My voice is great. Can you tell? I got to get some water here. What's Cypher say? Let's tune into Cypher's frequency here for a sec. Cypher says Bitcoin is more than just money. It's a protocol that was built to turn almost anything you know about life inside out. Like you said, the rabbit hole goes deep. Truly, though, Bitcoin is kind of something that it literally flips everything on its head. And that's a big reason why most people don't get Bitcoin, is because it's literally the exact opposite of everything we've ever been taught before. Anybody use this stuff? My fave. It's called voice management here. But yes, I completely agree there, Cypher. Okay, so what am I looking at here? Oh, one last thing I'll say about the visionaries community. We accept Bitcoin. So if you don't want to pay a monthly payment, you can purchase a lifetime membership in Bitcoin. Of course. Why the hell wouldn't we do that? So if you want to join that route, like a lot of people have, the cool thing is that there's been a lot of people joining as lifetime members, which is going to be a very positive thing for the long-term sustainability of the community, which is what you want. Okay, well, I had to show this. I haven't even showed this on the daily show yet, but this is pretty cool. Pretty cool. So let me bring this up here quickly. This is just a couple different things that have happened in the last week over on Noster that I think are worth bringing up, worth talking about. So let's bring this up here. This is the mayor of Vancouver. Some of you may have seen this, but it's pretty cool. So let's check this out. This is, what's his name? Ken Sims, I think.
I am so excited. It's the first time looking at this machine, and I'm going to try to buy something using my Bitcoin. All right, so I'm going to try Coke, and I'm going to go send, and pick that up. And I'm going to type a message in here. Mayor Ken Sim, bam, return, send. Oh, yeah. Yes! Excellent. Best Coke ever.
Best Coke ever. I like that he bought the Coke from a Pepsi machine. And I also like that the Pepsi tablet there said Bepsi. Bepsi. So, I mean, Vancouver overall, I don't know how many people are from Canada or the BC, but Vancouver itself is kind of it's gone downhill for a lot of reasons. Their real estate is way out of control. Their downtown area looks like a zombie apocalypse. Uh, but it's one of those things that Bitcoin actually has the ability to turn those around, right? Because with the real estate, what Bitcoin is going to do is it's going to reprice everything. A home might be worth $5 million today in fiat. It might be worth 0.005 of a Bitcoin in a couple decades from now. Really. And I know it's kind of sounds crazy to hear that, but I mean, if you watch the show regularly, you're used to me saying stuff like that. But it's true because that's how this thing works. It's repricing the entire world. It's pulling capital from real estate. It's pulling capital from the way overpriced stock market. It's pulling capital from the insane bond market. And all that capital is flowing in here, but we have no ability to increase the supply to meet that demand. And so over time, we've seen prices of houses go from 5,000 Bitcoin for a house to 500 Bitcoin for a house to 50 Bitcoin for a house. And then, of course, 5 Bitcoin for a house now. And a couple of years out, it might be 0.5 of a Bitcoin for a house and then 0.05. So over a long enough time frame here, the way that Bitcoin is designed, it's going to swallow all of that capital and it's going to reprice it. It's going to continue to reprice it. It's not just going to, it has been repricing everything since 2009. And it is a combination of the fiat dollar getting weaker. It's a combination of more people adopting and understanding Bitcoin. But the reality is that the dollar's going this direction and Bitcoin's going this direction. And those will never turn around and they will never slow down. So that's, it's cool to see the mayor of Vancouver adopting Bitcoin in such a significant way. And I really do feel like the only way to turn cities like Vancouver around would be Bitcoin. Truly. And that's one city out of hundreds of thousands that are going to go through the exact same thing. But it's good to see certain cities in Canada, certain mayors getting there while the opportunity is still here. He's taken path 3. He's all in. And, he's not waiting for things to get worse. He's trying to take some action now, which is what we should all be doing. So that's the first part there. Kenny boy. What else did we have here? What's this one? It's another, I kind of want to do these shows going forward. This is kind of my idea of it, is that we're going to spend the first part of the show talking about the 88 lessons, almost structured as if somebody was brand new to Bitcoin. They could go through the 88 lessons in time and have a much better understanding of Bitcoin. But I think that even if you've been in Bitcoin for a while now, some of these lessons are going to have, be a refresher for you or something maybe you've never seen before. And then the second half of the show, we're going to cater to the Bitcoiners, the people who are here now, the people who have their green light on. And so that's going to be the second part of the show that I want to do going forward. That's kind of the structure. And I think that this is another big misconception, big lies in Bitcoin, the whole never sell your Bitcoin. But that's why memes are so powerful because, this is a meme I'm guessing is Lord of the Rings. I don't know. I'm a nerd, but I'm not that much of a nerd. Looks kind of Lord of the Rings-ish. But the first part says, I will not risk having less Bitcoin by spending my sats. This is the mentality of probably 90% of Bitcoiners at this stage. I will not risk having less Bitcoin by spending my sats. But the contrarian view to that, and this is how I think about it too, is that you will have less Bitcoin whether you spend your sats or dollars. You will have less Bitcoin whether you spend your sats or dollars. And that's, again, one of the biggest misconceptions is Bitcoin is never sell your Bitcoin, never send your Bitcoin to anybody, because you want to have it forever. You want to keep those sats forever. You want to hodl. But the point of it is that whatever you're buying from somebody, Let's use Canon as an example here. So I hire Canon to do social media for the visionaries for 2 months. And I'm like, well, I was told that I should never spend my Bitcoin. So I'm not going to pay Canon in Bitcoin. I'm going to pay them in fiat. That'll really stick to the fiat system. But in reality there, either way, all that's happening, if I'm paying for something from Canon, in this case, social media services, either way, I'm sending him value, right? I'm sending him value. I'm not sending him dollars. I'm not sending him Bitcoin. I'm sending him value. It could be in any form, but I'm still sending him value because he's doing a service for me. I have to pay him. I have to send him value. And I probably repeated this 20 times in the last 6 months. And I still feel like there's people who do not grasp this concept. I'm sending him value. What he does with that value after he pays his expenses is all that matters. It's how he stores that. So that's income for him. He pays his bills, he pays his rent, he pays his groceries, whatever he has left. That's the only thing that matters is how you store that value. It doesn't matter how you earn Bitcoin. We saw in River today that you can do direct deposits and essentially get paid in Bitcoin, even though your boss is sending fiat. So it doesn't matter if you're spending, earning, doesn't matter how you're sending or receiving value. That's it. That's all that's happening. You did your job for the 2 weeks. Your boss pays you. He's sending you value. The only thing that matters is how you store that value. Doesn't matter how you spend it or earn it, only how you store it. And the other part of this too is that the more you spend your Bitcoin, the more adoption increases. And the more adoption increases, the more the price goes up, your net worth goes up. So it is in your best interest to actually spend your Bitcoin. Yeah, Cypher, that is indeed a powerful meme. If you get it, you get it. That's what I'm saying. Like, I've repeated that so many times, and I still feel like there's so many people who just do not understand that concept. But if I say it 20 more times, they might. And I'm not trying to bash anybody here when I say that, because it takes me a very long time to understand things myself. I would say that Jeff Booth has probably been my biggest mentor in Bitcoin that I've never talked to or met before, but I probably had to listen to Jeff Booth say the same thing 20 times, 25 times before it clicked in my head. So I'm not immune to that. I'm not like the fastest guy to understand things. And that's why I keep saying is because these concepts, because they are so unique and so different than what we're used to outside of our own paradigm, you have to repeat it. You have to hear it over and over and over and over again before it finally clicks. And I'm hoping throughout the journey here, there'll be a lot of clicks, a lot of green lights turn on. What's with the frickin' bots here today? That's why I gotta wash my mouth. Watch it. Letha with a 5,000 sat zap. Maria first, Letha second. Wow. Thank you, Letha. Very, very, very much. And look at this. We got a celebrity in the chat over on Nostr today. Sir Sleepy. Is that the real Sir Sleepy? I'm guessing so. He said, the great repricing is amongst us. Yep, it's underway right now. It's underway right now. And Sir Sleepy also is up to 100 sats. Cheers, buddy. Thank you. Plural says deja vu. Yeah, another 2-hour live stream today. We might as well have just done a full-on telethon today. I might start calling Tuesday telethon Tuesdays. And we got another one here. I missed it. And I'm glad I saw it before Ian commented. But it looks like we got 2,500 sats from our guy, Ian, also known as Clean Your Machine on Tuesdays, and also known as BitTales on every other day. So thank you, Ian. Sir Sleepy says it's impossible for me not to spend my Bitcoin if I'm all in. Exactly. That's the other part too. That's the other part too. If you don't spend your Bitcoin, then you're short Bitcoin. Because as Sir Sleepy said there, And this is kind of this is the way I do it, because I don't know if I'd say I'm 100% living on Bitcoin, because I still have a bank account. But literally every time somebody pays me for anything, I just buy Bitcoin. Why would I want to hold fiat until I need it? Why would I hold a currency that's being devalued and debased every second of every day? Why would I want to go anywhere near that? And so when you don't have fiat and you need to buy something, or you need to eat, or you need to pay your rent, or buy a tank of gas, you have to spend the value that you've accrued in the world. And if you're storing that value in Bitcoin, then you're going to have to spend some Bitcoin. That's just how it works. My Path to Fire said 100% network effects. That's why Bitcoin wins. Yep. Sats Oil is back in the chat. Zap 21 sats. Proof received. Thank you, Sats Oil. A brand new Bitcoin only business that was spawned by, from what he said this morning, from watching the channel, watching the show. And that's what it's all about, my friends. We're going to do it till we're blue in the face here. We can't say words. Oh, and look at that. We got Cypher. Telethon Tuesdays app. That's what they're called, right? Telethons, where they're like 8 hours long. Pretty sure they're called telethons. I like that though, because it's true. I didn't plan on doing 2 hours today. I didn't plan on doing 2 hours this afternoon, but at this rate, who the hell knows what's going to happen? So this is the beginning of Telethon Tuesdays. I like it. Cypher says, mine too, George. Jeff Booth is a legend. Oh, I missed another one here. Nav says, I feel you on Jeff Booth. I've been binging Booth content nonstop. He has broken my brain. Yep. What would be the layers of Bitcoin? Let's do a little experiment here. Cypher says, mine too, George. Jeff Booth is a legend. His understanding of Bitcoin is out of this world. Truly. Truly, truly, truly. Oh, what happened there? Well, let's do something here. I want to do something together. This is gonna be fun. Oh, I don't know if I have Canva here though. No, I don't have my premium account on. I think we could still do it though. We're going to do something as a team here. It's going to be fun. Okay, so while I'm doing this, while I'm creating this meme, I want you to tell me like think about the Vince McMahon meme. You know, where he's sitting back and then he sits up and his eyes go like this and then he goes red. The 4 kind of stages there. What would that be for like Bitcoin legends? Like Maulers, Sailor, Jeff Booth. I think I got one here. Vince McMahon meme. That might be a Bitcoin only one though. Oh no, here it is. Oh yeah, so the Bitcoin one's got 4. Oh no, here it is. Nice. Actually, we don't even need Canva here. Let's just do it right here. We're making memes live on the air here. So this is the Vince McMahon. I think this would be, well, how do I get rid of this freaking thing? Meme text goes here. Okay, we might have to save this. Desktop, McMahon. Okay, hopefully that's saved properly. Create. Upload. By the way, if you don't use Canva, you're really missing out on life. Canva's the ticket. Okay, using a new design here. What would I like to create? I don't know. Custom. Okay, here it is. Oh, that freaking text is there though. Jeez Louise, why is everything so hard today? Let's do a square. Is that a square or rectangle? Shape. Did you ever think that whatever age you're at right now, you'd be watching a guy on YouTube make memes? I definitely didn't think I'd be the guy making the memes. But memes are powerful. Not that this one's going to be super powerful, but it'll just be a fun thing to do. Text. So I would say this one would be Mahler's. I feel like Jack Mahler's does a really good job of breaking things down simply. Oh my God. Oh my heavens. Jack Mahler's. Okay. I think this one would be Sailor. So this is kind of like Bitcoiners going through their own Bitcoin journey, like listening to mainstream people. Sailor, I would say Jeff Booth is here. And then this last one here, I don't know. I would kind of go swap these two back and forth here, but I would say Gigi. What do we think about that? I mean, the meme itself, I did horrible work here. I don't know why there's that dotted line there. I think I messed something up. But we even got some font there randomly. I would say that that's kind of like the unlock. Like Mahler's gets you kind of interested. Sailor, you're like, okay, I got to buy a bunch here. Jeff Booth is like, okay, my whole world's flipped upside down. Or as Cypher said here, no, Nav said, broken my brain. And then I would say Gigi is kind of the top dog, mostly because he's so unknown and kind of underrated. But Gigi is a philosopher. He's a philosopher. I think Gigi understands Bitcoin at the deepest level because he's been in for a long time too. I'm sure Jeff Booth will get there at some point, but Gigi's been kind of around for the longest. So there you go. There's meme making with Jor. Who thought they'd ever see that? No, missed something here. We got to read his book, Slacking. Yeah, I know. I agree. Oh, Lynn would be a good one to have on there. I don't know where I put her though. If I were to do it like that, I'd put Lynn, Jack, Sailor, Jeff Booth. Mostly because most people don't. That's what I mean. Never heard of Gigi. Most people don't know about Gigi. So Gigi actually wrote this book. It's called 21 Lessons, What I've Learned from Falling Down the Bitcoin Rabbit Hole. This is probably my favorite book in Bitcoin. But it's not like a Bitcoin standard where it like, you kind of have to have an idea about Bitcoin already. I'd say that anybody watching the show would greatly benefit from this book. A lot of really good stuff in here. Or if you're lazy, if you are lazy, I'm going to show you something here quickly. Two things. Number one here is in in the Visionaries. I actually just shared this the other day. So the Visionaries has all this stuff. It has the 365 days of Bitcoin course, which is kind of nuts. But we've been doing this for 307 days now. 10 minutes a day, different topics within Bitcoin. It's a lot. But in the classroom too, you got the 21-day course. But this is what I'm talking about here. Gigi. So we actually did a full kind of one chapter at a time talking about the book. Some of them are like 15 minutes long. Some of it's a little bit less than that. But that's Gigi's book here. So I did a full video series talking about the book. And that's available in the school community and the Visionaries. Haven't seen Mahler's do much content. He does a live stream every Monday. Every Monday. They're good too. Okay, my Path to Fire zapped 42 sats, and somebody said hello, Jor. I don't know who that is though. It just looks like an NPub. I listened to Gigi's book twice. Love that. You're probably much better off for it, aren't you? Oh shit! Sorry, Rod. I did bring up your question, then I got distracted by Lynn here. Rod says, just got home from work and see her on YouTube. Any way I can get that hat you're wearing? Yeah. Actually, I don't make them. I had somebody send me this hat. 21 hats. Jake in the chat today? Bro, you skipped my question to show, but you took a drink on it. Classic. Oh yeah, Plural says your stream is a safe place for recovering shitcoiners. Not sure you caught this comment at the end of the last stream. I think I did, but I don't know if I acknowledged it. So sorry, Plural. I appreciate that, man. And you sent a zap with it too that I forgot to thank you for. But yeah, I don't know if Jake's here or not right now. I'll put you in touch with him though if you want. It is a sick hat. It's actually pretty. You got the signal here at the back. Got some Arnie hair on there. And it's a good hat. These are my favorite hats. These are what we use for King Golf too. It's the same one. And they kind of look weird when you photograph them because the peak's flat. But obviously you can work them how you want to. But yeah, sick hat. Sick hat. Qubit, yo. What's up? We got people coming in. A lot of new faces today. Okay, what else did we have here that I wanted to discuss? All right, we're doing all right. I mean, we're already 20 minutes over, but okay. Moving on. I want to have some of this. Oh my God. That's my favorite freaking part of the day, I think. Except the bottle's too big. Somebody chirped me for using a plastic bottle. So I found this in the basement, glass bottle. Pretty good. I guess it's healthier for me. All right. Rod, I was going to get you my email there. Sorry, I'm kind of bouncing all over the place right now. Shoot me an email right there. Just say, I want one of those hats. I'll get you in touch with Jake. They're awesome. Awesome. Dean, what's up, buddy? Cheers, Dean. You're on my list, man. You're on my shit list. I forget who it was now. Bug, God of War, somebody else, and Dean. Jerry asked if everybody wanted to give the 88th block to Jor or if they wanted to spin it. And 4 or 5 people voted spin it. And Dean was one of them. I'm just shitting, but I didn't forget. Okay, so this is a post here, and I'm going to read it, but I'm going to tell you right off the hop, it's not about the post. It's about one of the replies, I believe. Yes. Okay, so this is kind of, I've heard a lot of Bitcoiners say this exact kind of phrase. I've thought about this myself. I've agreed with it. I've disagreed with it. But I wanted to share this because there's a good comment to it. So the post here is my take. We should have never left Twitter. So this is on Nostr. And if you're not on Nostr yet and you're watching this stream, you got work to do. Get on Nostr ASAP. ASAP as possible, as Michael Scott would say. But Zach's saying Bitcoiners should have never left Twitter. Nostr is great for us, but this is an echo chamber, and the people need Bitcoin maximalists, which I agree with. If all the freedom-focused Bitcoiners spend years isolated on their own protocol, it doesn't help anyone. We need to do a digital crusade and go push out all the scammers, the spammers, and the shitcoiners out of the culture again. Thoughts? So I want to share this reply is actually from Odell, I believe, because he tagged Odell. By the way, cool thing about Nostr, you make a post, somebody can send you sats. But this was Odell's reply. Oh, look who zapped it there. Looks like a familiar face. Odell said, you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. And I wanted to highlight this because this is very true. And I think this is important in a lot of things, not just Nostr versus Twitter, but a lot of things that we're going to go through here as Bitcoiners together. But this is one of the things. This is one thing we talk about every single morning on the Visionaries live stream is breaking the paradigm. Breaking the paradigm. And you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. Absolutely love that quote. I might actually put that up in the office here at some point. But that's it was funny because we literally talked about this exact quote. It was either this morning, like before this post. This was on November 5th, but it was the morning of or the morning before. And then Odell shared that. I doubt he watched the show, but it was just kind of funny how things lined up there. So it's true. You know, it's like it's the same kind of thing when you're talking to your friends and family about Bitcoin and you're trying desperately to you have this newfound knowledge, you want to tell everybody about it. But you have to understand that it's just a waste of energy. Anybody who isn't open-minded, anybody who isn't kind of already at the point of asking questions is just going to fall on deaf ears. And you only get so many seconds in the day. You only get so many days in the year. And you only get so many years in your life. And if you're fighting the existing realities, it's just going to be a complete waste of time. So what do you do instead? You start building your own. Build your own reality. Build your own community. Start sharing on Nostr. Spend all your time on Nostr. And that's one of Jeff Booth's biggest things that he says is that the only reason why fiat's still around is because we're giving it our time and attention. If you just withdraw, if you just opt out, you can opt out of the mainstream media. You can opt out of the mainstream social platforms. You can opt out of the big pharmaceutical industry. You can even opt out of the monetary system now. Never before in human I shouldn't say that, but not in recent history could you actually just decide, you know what? I'm done. That quote wouldn't have been relevant before Bitcoin existed and Nostr existed. It just wouldn't have. We didn't have the tools. We didn't have the availability. You could not build a new model that would make the financial system obsolete. It had to be Bitcoin. Had to be. You could not build a new model that makes Twitter obsolete because Twitter has all the users. It has the perfect algorithm to feed people to post more. It has all the big celebrities on there. It even pays you if you have enough clickbait and rage bait in your posts. Twitter even pays you. Until Nostr. The quote did not make any sense until we had things like true decentralization, which is Bitcoin. And you might argue that Nostr is not fully decentralized, and I would agree with that. But it's a hell of a lot better. It's a hell of a lot better. And I don't know if Nostr is going to be the end all be all, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. Okay, what do we got here? Digital Zero. Look at this. Zapped 500 sats and said, watching from the fountain app. So cool. Wow. That is really cool. I don't even know where those viewers would show up. I don't think it would be on the Zap stream. That's badass. Shani. Look at this. Shani's here. What's up? Just got back from a little holiday. Was it a little holiday, Shani? Seemed like a big holiday to me. But definitely deserved. Good to see you, buddy. My Path to Fire says, I read that one, disagree. Twitter sucks. Odell is right. Yeah, I don't know. Feels so good to be off X entirely. I had to jump ship after the events of September 10th. What happens? Oh, yeah. Charlie Kirk. I mean, it's one of those things, and this has probably been the biggest game changer for me in this whole thing and the whole journey so far. I've just noticed that spending more time in Bitcoin and less time in altcoins or the stock market or real estate and going down that rabbit hole, spending less time in there and more in Bitcoin, it just helps you sleep better. And you just feel better. It's like a whole weight is lifted off your shoulders because you're not fighting anybody, right? That's the one difference in Bitcoin is that everybody's kind of working together. Everybody wants other people to succeed. Everybody wants to see this network grow. It's not yours versus this. There's no competition to Bitcoin. There's really not. I'd say gold's the closest competition, and gold is light years already behind Bitcoin. And don't be fooled by the value out there, or I should say the price out there that's telling you that gold is worth 10 times more than Bitcoin. That's complete bullshit. I would say that Bitcoin is easily worth 10x, maybe 100x more than gold. It's just that the rest of the world hasn't caught up to that. But if you have that understanding, that knowledge and conviction, and you have a decent amount of sats and you're working towards accumulating more, and you keep those sats cold storage, self-custody in your own sovereign life world, you sleep better. You don't feel the same weights of the world crushing you down. You know, time seems to slow down for the most part when you're in Bitcoin. And it's the same kind of thing with Nostr and X too. I log into X for 5 minutes, my blood pressure's through the roof. I'm full of hate. I want to fight everybody. I hate my government. I hate all this stuff. That's when I'm on X because that's how the app is designed. It's designed to reward people who are using clickbait and rage bait. And it's full of bots. And half the people that people are arguing with aren't even people. And so think about how much time, how much of their life they're spending basically yelling into the void. It's insane. And I've been guilty of this myself. Like I'm definitely not perfect. I'm definitely not immune from it. I spent a lot of years in that world and it is incredibly stressful. Whereas Nostr, it's totally different. You go on there, you're meeting people. You go on there, you're learning things. You go on there, you get a dose of the news, but it's not from a bias. There's no agenda behind it. It's a totally different experience. And it's one of those things. It's like, it's just nice. You know, there's enough shit to worry about in the world. So if you don't have to worry about your money being debased, if you don't have to worry about your blood pressure going through the roof, you know, I'd say that's a step in the right direction. Significantly. Okay. What else do we have here? Oh, the biggest freaking news of the week. Maybe the biggest news in Bitcoin's history. Oh, I did want to watch this though, quickly. You know, I feel like I'm getting targeted right now. I feel like I'm getting targeted by Instagram's such a It won't let me like restart this thing. Okay, good enough. I couldn't start from the exact beginning, but maybe we'll watch like the first 5 minutes after. But I feel like I'm getting targeted right now. I feel like I'm getting targeted by Dubai because this guy's been popping up all over my Instagram feeds, probably because I watched a couple of videos and I actually like him. He's a Bitcoiner. He makes a lot of sense. He's one of those guys that speaks his mind, which I very much appreciate. But he keeps showing up. And then like a day or two after I've discovered him, a guy in Dubai reached out and booked a meeting with me. Who he had lived in a bunch of different parts of the world, and he was talking about Dubai. So I don't know if this guy's being paid by Dubai to promote people moving there or whatever it is. I don't really care. But he's talking truth here. So kind of going back to full circle here for the show, where we talked about the 3 different paths that people take in Bitcoin. One of those not diversifying. So instead of putting like 1 or 2 or 5% of your portfolio into Bitcoin and just leaving everything else in like an index fund GICs, bonds. I don't even know what the hell else people own these days, truly. But that's the live diversification. But any wealthy person, as we're about to hear here, will tell you that the only way that they generated their wealth is by going all in on something. You're never going to get rich diversifying, ever. It's not even possible unless you already have millions and millions to diversify with. But if you're starting out with peanuts, like most people do, you're never going to get further ahead by diversifying. You're going to lose a lot, you're going to win a little bit, and you're just going to end up treading water for the rest of your life. So let's listen to this part here, which kind of solidifies my advice from the beginning of the show.
Told you that. Honestly, what is their name? Put their name in the comments section below, because no one with half a brain that's ever made it says that. Warren Buffett was popularized for quoting diversification, but people didn't finish what he said. He said diversification is for the non-professional investor. All professionals go all in. Warren Buffett diversifies now because he's managing hundreds of billions of dollars of other people's money. But how he got rich, he went all in. Geico, American Express, and Coca-Cola, all in. Guys, the only people that tell you to diversify are three types of people. Number one, financial advisors making money off you, so let's rule them out. Number two, the idiots who aren't rich. And number three, the people who are already rich and forgot how they got rich in the first place. Now, we should all be professional investors in 2025 because we have AI. We are all as smart as one another now. It's not 1980 where you actually had to call on someone who knows what they're doing. The access to information is out there. The only difference now is kahunas, your balls. You have to go in, and if you don't go all in, it's not going to happen. You have to diversify your assets. Who told you that? Honestly, what is their name? Put their name in the comments section below, because no one with half a brain that's ever made it says that.
Very true. Sandy. Good point. How many people have? How many people have? By the way, I just saw this here. Somebody, some absolute legend, sent in 5,000 sats to Arnie Boy's wallet here. I didn't even see it an hour ago. So we had from Maria, from Letha, and somebody sent also to Arnie. I wonder if it was Letha or Maria. Splitting it up, diversifying between Arnie, Jor. I don't know. But either way, thank you, whoever that was, very much from Arnie. Buck 52 says diversification is for spreading your loss all over the place. 100%. Hundo P. You know, I spent a lot of years thinking that that was the way to get rich, was diversification. And man, I could not have been more wrong about that. And he talked about financial advisors there who love that. Why do they love that? Because when you are diversifying, that means you're buying a bunch of different assets. And every time you buy, they make money off of you. Every time you make a trade, because your value of NVIDIA has gone up. Now it's 10% of your portfolio. We need to stomp that down. It's panic. We need to diversify. So what do? They sell a piece of that NVIDIA or NVIDIA, however the hell you pronounce it, and they put it into Coca-Cola. And when they do that, that's a trade. And they get some Skrilla off the trade. And that's why they like diversification. And then they can't really be wrong either. They're like, oh, shit, Coca-Cola had a bad year. Only made 7% this year. Only made 5% this year because we allocated a little bit too much over here. So we had to diversify over to here. It only costs you this much. We're not going to show you this on the income statement for the year, but you just have to trust us because we are financial advisors. We are professionals. We know all there is to know about stealing people's money. I mean, making people money. That's what I meant to say. Making people money. I mean, if it's still 2025 and you're using a financial advisor, dipshit is the biggest first word that comes to mind. And I get it. A lot of people who are older, they have a lot of money still in the market. But in reality, you're just going to watch that money go to nothing against Bitcoin. Yeah, diversification. Exactly. That's literally what it is. Because when you think about why you're diversifying or why your financial advisor would be diversifying, it's because all the assets that are actually performing well, they now take up too much of your portfolio. So what do? Pull some out of there, making too much over there. We're going to make some more fees, trading fees. We're going to put some into Peter's dog poop. Actually, that'd be a good business. I shouldn't say that. That's a good business. Peter's, I don't know why I have Peter in my mind. Peter's piano lessons. We're going to take some from NVIDIA, throw it in Peter's piano lessons and diversify because you don't want too much of your portfolio in one spot. So what I say to that is, actually, I shouldn't be giving any financial advice here on YouTube, but this is financial advice. Everybody says it's not financial advice. This is financial advice. Everything else is fake. Everything. And even the companies that actually produce products, number one, if there's enough demand for those products, they can make more of those products to meet the demand. So they can't really go up too much. The other thing too is a lot of these companies are 20, 30x overvalued right now because there was nowhere else to go. And because there's so much forced buying from pension funds and retirement funds, 80% of people don't even know what they own. Almost swear there. Trying my best not to swear here on the show. They have no idea what they own, so they just let their advisor handle it. They throw them into these junk things because that's their only option. And so they're all overvalued. And even the profitable companies who, if you get past those two first points, even the profitable companies, 99% of them are storing all of their profits in a fake currency. What do they actually own? They succeeded in a world before Bitcoin. They succeeded in a world before centralization, but that world's done. It's done. A lot of people have a hard time coming to that reality, but it's done. We're moving into a fully decentralized world, and there's nothing that they can do to stop it. They're going to fight and scratch and claw and cry for a long time here, but that's not going to change the reality of things. And so Bitcoin is the only play. I'd say Bitcoin, gold, land. Those are the only things that are real that you can own. And again, gold and land, gold, you can hold it in your dresser right beside your bed, but that gold only belongs to you until somebody with a bigger gun comes to your house and takes it from you. Or you have to trust somebody else to hold it for you. But land, that land's only yours until a more powerful government or entity comes along and takes it from you. And if you think you own your land, try missing a property tax payment. And who are you paying the property tax to? Who really owns the land? So I'd say that those three assets are all solid, good investments, but Bitcoin's far superior. And Bitcoin is far, far, far undervalued compared to those two other things. So it is financial advice. Nope. Sandy says, is it okay to diversify the way you hodl with Bitcoin ETF in addition to self-custody? Yeah, I mean, if you have money stuck in the system, I would never sell Bitcoin in self-custody to go buy an ETF. That just doesn't even make sense. But yeah, if you're worried about like the tax consequences or whatever, and it's kind of trapped in the system, then Bitcoin ETF is a good bet. Yeah. Diversification is opting in for lesser protocols, 100%. If you believe in Bitcoin, you should feel comfortable with the most Bitcoin products, strategies, ETF stocks. Yeah. But again, I would never sell sats that you have in self-custody to go back into the system. Once that capital's out of the system, like you sell some of your ETF shares and buy Bitcoin, or you sell a piece of real estate and buy Bitcoin, or sell shares of strategy and buy Bitcoin, that capital should never go back into the legacy system. So again, if you have different portfolios, I would say that it is okay to diversify in Bitcoin, as long as it's like an ETF or a company that's holding Bitcoin or a Bitcoin product. Even something like Block, man, like Square, Block, they take 10% of their profits every month and buy Bitcoin. And they're a very, very lean company. So I'm not telling you to buy Block, but I'm saying like that's a good option if you do have capital stuck in that system, is something like Block. But what the hell do I know? That's what you have to ask yourself. What the hell do I know? Cypher says when you adopt Bitcoin, you no longer worry about money in your future. Save in Bitcoin and watch most of your worries disappear. 100%. Hun Do P. Hundy P. And Cypher said 99 sats with that as well. Sats Oil says, totally agree. I've been on Nostr for just a few days. Wow. Just a few days and the experience is completely different. Definitely better. Sats Oil, how'd you get onto Nostr? Like, not who told you about it, but like, where'd you start? Did you start with Primal? Did you start with Domus? Did you start with Nostr? What was the first part there? What was it? Oh, yeah, we got another zap here. Big one. 3210. That's a good one. And the comment says, I posted one of my songs, You Rock, dedicated to the visionaries. I thought that was Scotty, but I'm pretty sure that's Pauly D. Scotty's sleeping. And I'm pretty sure that's actually Pauly D's song that he wrote, dedicated to the visionaries. 3210. Love that zap. Thank you, Pauly. Pretty sure that was Pauly. Let's check it out here. There he is, right there. The man himself. What's your channel called again, Pauly? I don't know. Is it Pauly D? Oh, you know what? Pauly sent me this video, actually. Oh, I see some people join the visionaries. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. I like that notification. Okay, Pauly D right there. Oh, it's not even on YouTube, or is it? Posted it on YouTube. I have the video here, but it looks like it's on Google. Pauly, what's your channel called? I feel like I'm subscribed to you. There it is, original Pauly D. You rock. I don't see it on here though, man. Where'd you post it to, Pauly? Okay. What was my next thing here? Oh, Square, yeah. Just the biggest news in history, and we're saving it till the end of the show here today. Only the biggest news in Bitcoin history, I guess. Not that big a deal. Maria. The videos. That vid is still on the Google Drive. Click the link. Okay, where'd that go now? All right, hell yeah. Let's see this. Let's watch this. Why not? You send a zap, you get to dictate what goes on here. Okay, ready? This is Pauly D's song called You Rock, dedicated to the visionaries. Ready? I am.
Doesn't ever really matter what you've been told. Just don't believe all the lies you've been sold. Rise above the waterline before we go under for the very last time. I know you've got so much to give, but sometimes you gotta fight to live. They set you up, now they're passing you by. I gave you wings, now it's time for you to fly. Well, I said you rock. Doesn't ever really matter the sound of your name. No time for kings and queens, just make it your game. What you feel can't go wrong. It's by design. tall. Strut your stuff, you gotta walk that wall. Flash your smile for all to see. It's your turn now, be the star you wanna be. Well, I said you rock. Yes, indeed, you rock. Yeah. Well, I said you rock.
Let's go. That was awesome. I don't know for sure. I'm going to say 98% sure of this, but that was actually Paulie singing that. Right, Paulie? That was your voice. That was badass. I love that. I mean, it's cool. That's the one thing I've noticed is like, you know, it's nice when faces kind of come out of the chat. And in the visionaries community, we have basically when you join, you get to do a little intro about yourself. Some people do it a written form, some people do a video version of it. But you know, I've been chatting with people back and forth in the chat here for years now. And it wasn't until the school community where I actually got to know them a little bit. I got to know what they do, where they're from, you know, what they're into, their Bitcoin story. And it just makes things a lot more real. And then, of course, once you go through that whole thing and you go to maybe like a Bitcoin conference like we had in Vegas, we actually had a meetup for the visionaries. At the time, it was called Living in the Future, but we had an in-person meetup. And, you know, when you go through this stuff together, when you're having video calls with each other and when you're interacting on a day-to-day basis and then signal chat, you know, you trust people a lot more. And again, you can't buy trust, you can't buy reputation. And so the only thing that you can do is you can join a community. And some of them are paid, some of them are free. You know, if you're a little bit tight on money, free might be an option. But I really think that paid communities are much more valuable because there's actually skin in the game. People want to be there. They want to contribute. They consider it an investment. And it also keeps out all the bullshit. No spam. Right? There's no spam. There's nobody trying to sell you anything. It's just great people. And Bitcoiners are great people. And, you know, I made a post earlier in the week. I said, I've come to a conclusion that absolutely nothing makes sense in Bitcoin right now. Whether it's the treasury companies, whether it's the NOTs versus core, whether it's the new BIP improvements, who knows? Just nothing makes sense. The price manipulation, how there's so much demand, but yet the price is kind of just flatlining. Nothing makes sense. And so I said, in the meantime, I'm just going to stack sats and I'm going to stack friends until this whole thing blows over, until things start making sense again. And so if you're stacking sats, you're on the right track, but you should be stacking people, friends, business partners, people you can collaborate with, build with, learn from, teach. That's the whole point of these communities. So Paulie says, my old band Dr. Sinister wrote the song for my daughter when she was 10. She's an engineer and a Bitcoiner. Wow. That's awesome. I knew it was. So we got some AI songs here for the visionaries. We got some real music songs. I don't know what you'd call them, non-AI. But yeah, we got her all in there. So thanks, Paulie D. That was awesome. You rock. You rock, Paulie. Shani. Look at that. Oh, Shani's for some reason go to the other wallet. That's why they never show up here. But I do see it there. Words of wisdom. And Shani's up 2121. Damn. Thank you, Shani. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So I don't know, man. I'm getting tired. My voice is sore. This is pretty much 4 hours of live streaming today for me. It's too much. I got to hit the road. I was going to talk about Square again, but I talked about it yesterday. I posted a video. I talked about it today. It's pretty big. Pretty big deal. It's actually a massive deal. And I keep wanting to say the F word here, so I'm trying to hold back as best I can. But as of yesterday, I don't know if people have seen this or not or care to hear any more about it, but as of yesterday, there's 4 million merchants who use Square, like the payment terminal, that can now accept Bitcoin if they want to. They can now accept Bitcoin if they want to. And the business themselves, they have the opportunity to keep some of it, keep all of it, keep a portion of it. They can use a little slider and say, I want to keep 50% of it. But the other cool thing too is even if people aren't paying in Bitcoin, like if somebody walked up and paid in debit or credit or cash, probably not, maybe cash. I don't know how that works. But anyways, at the end of the day, the business gets to decide how much of it they want to keep in Bitcoin. So just imagine, just zoom out like a decade from now, because again, there's 4 million merchants. I'm going to guess like 5% are going to enable it right away, maybe even less than that, maybe 2%. But again, that's going to go up. It's going to go from 2% to 3% to 4% to 5%, especially where we are right now too. I think it's absolutely perfect timing for this to happen, because what's going to happen here is that these businesses are going to take a chance. They're going to start kind of going back to what we started with. They're going to start with like 1 or 2%, put it into Bitcoin, right? Because that's kind of like the safe route, the diversified way to do it. And then they're going to see whatever they stored in Bitcoin, just like we saw with Steak and Shake. They're going to say they're going to announce, we're going to keep 20%. We're going to build an actual Bitcoin treasury. When they see the value of it go up, when they start learning more about it, they're going to want to allocate more to it. So it's the same kind of thing, whether it's an individual or a business. The sooner you can start allocating more of your energy to Bitcoin, the better off you're going to be. And the sooner you can start buying into the community and network aspect of this, the more trust you're going to have with people, the more reputation you're going to have, and the faster you can leave the fiat system. And that's kind of the whole goal. So you got Bitcoin, you got the community, and you got the right mindset, you're going to be untouchable for the rest of your life. Untouchable. If you do it right, secure it properly, untouchable. Okay, well, I got to hit the road here. I'm getting freaking tired. Not tired, but just tired of sitting here and tired of talking. My voice is shot from the beginning today. Buck52 says other payment processors might need to hop on board if they, or they'll get left behind. 100%. It's a game theory. Kind of makes me want to diversify into block. Thought about that too. I haven't pulled the trigger yet, but who knows? Anyways, big shout out to everybody. Another great episode here of 88 Lessons. I'm going to try to keep this under 2 hours. Again, we do these every Tuesday, 2 p.m. on the YouTube, Rumble, Noster, every single day at 10 a.m. Eastern time. We do it on the other 2 channels I mentioned there. And on Saturdays, we actually do a replay of the lesson. So I cut it out. I reshare it Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time as well. And I do a premiere so we can actually go in the chat if you want to rewatch it. You can show up on Saturday mornings. So big shout outs to Letha, to Maria, to Ian, to Paulie D, and to whoever else sent the 5,000 sat, and of course to everybody else who contributed today. It is the people that make this community what it is, what this channel is. So thanks for watching. Changing mind. Changing what? What happened there? I missed something there. Changing what? What was I talking about? I don't know. Anyways, hope you have a great Tuesday. Thanks for hanging out with me again all day for Telethon Tuesdays. We're going to keep doing it because it's pretty important. I think anyways, or else I wouldn't be sitting here. So have yourselves an amazing day. I guess I'll have to, I might see it after. If you want to throw in the chat there, I'll see it after I close the show here. But we're going to round things out. So thank you once again, everybody. And join us next week, same time, same place. And if you feel like tuning into this stuff every morning, I'm going to have all the links that we talked about here in the pinned comments. I'm going to put it there in about 5 minutes from now. So if you remember, check back if you want to look. or people watching later can go. But 10 a.m. Eastern time every day, Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern time, this show. And then, of course, the Maple stream on Friday too, and then the replay on Saturday. So everybody's on the same page. Have yourselves a great Tuesday, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.